Lessons from the student protests in Serbia. An analysis of the ongoing protests in Serbia, the skill of students in organizing the demonstrations, the differences with the protests of the 1990s and 2000s, and the possible risks of the absence of a long-term plan and strategy. May 2, 2025, Grisa Hasa. Following the collapse of the railway station canopy which claimed 15 lives in Novi Sad, Serbia, university students in Belgrade and across the country, supported by the broader Serbian society, have launched a nationwide movement and have been protesting regularly for the past 3 months. Allegations of corruption regarding the renovation of the railway station, undertaken between 2021 and 2024 by a consortium consisting of China Railway International Company Ltd, CRAC, and China Communications Construction Company Ltd, CCCC, emerged immediately after the tragedy. The protesters are demanding not only answers but accountability, which resulted in the resignation of Serbia's Prime Minister Miloš Vučević and Novi Sad's Mayor Milan Đurić. The protests have gained international recognition, receiving coverage in all major mainstream media. Nevertheless, the European Union (EU) has not only refused to support or acknowledge the reality on the ground but has also continued its stabilitocratic foreign policy in the region, further endorsing Aleksandar Vučić's regime, at a time when the latter has never before faced this scale of resistance. So far, students in Serbia have demonstrated exceptional maturity and intelligence in logistical organization, sustaining momentum, keeping the society united and challenging the regime. But how are they achieving this? First of all, protest locations are selected based on strategic importance rather than political symbolism alone, or worse, at random. For instance, occupying the Autokomanda junction on January 27, a key highway in Belgrade that connects the capital to both inner-city roads and the rest of the country, has proven a smart tactic. The disruption of key infrastructure forces more people to pay attention and participate in the protest. The same can be said for the 24-hour occupation of the 3 bridges over the Danube River in Novi Sad, which took place on February 1 and 2, marking 3 months since the tragedy. These actions demonstrate a clear understanding that effective protest is not just about visibility but about exerting leverage on the system. Secondly, protesters are keeping the movement decentralized and leaderless. This should be seen as both a strategic and protective measure. In Serbia's semi-authoritarian regime, this is highly important to avoid co-optation and top-down pressures. A movement without a leader makes it difficult for the regime to identify key organizers, therefore to intimidate or corrupt them. In addition, this preserves the movement from potential fragmentation and inner crisis. On the other hand, it encourages broader participation as it helps bring together diverse members of the society, including those which normally would disagree with certain ideologies or would view hierarchical political organizations with suspicion in a context when most opposition parties are either corrupted or fractured. Thirdly, the student movement deserves recognition for its democratic internal organization. The students are organizing among themselves through collective plenums where everyone has the right to voice their opinion, but decisions are made through a majority rule, based on the proposals with the strongest arguments. This creates a sense of fairness and legitimacy, ensuring that decisions reflect the collective will rather than the influence of a few dominant voices. In addition, it is interesting to note that there are not really divisive statements or symbols in the protest. It's important to recognize that Serbia is a deeply nationalist society with a history shaped by the violent dissolution of Yugoslavia, marked by extreme ethnic and ultranationalist sentiments, which continue to persist today, including among young people and students. However, the few nationalist symbols or flags that have been spotted here and there are not representative of the protest as a whole. These are isolated cases that do not reflect the movement's principles. Instead, students are often seen waving the representative flags of their specific faculties, alongside the Serbian flag or other types of flags, such as the Jamaican flag or a Ferrari flag, symbols appropriated from the 1990s and 2000 student protests, when these flags were used to mock the regime's accusations of being foreign agents. A tactic which Vučić is also employing, aiming to portray the protests as externally orchestrated. The student movement is keeping the tone strictly neutral and focused on issues like corruption, state capture, lack of media freedom, rule of law, and democracy.